to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter if they can get away with it and not be felons themselves, while punks are running wild in the street. And there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe, and our food's unfit to eat. And we sit watching our TVs and our phones and our computers while some local head tells us that today we had 15 homicides. No, 18, maybe 20, then 9 more. And 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We all know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything, everyone, everywhere is going crazy. So we don't go out anymore. We stay in the house. And slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm Uncle Benny, and I'm not gonna leave you alone. Welcome to Uncle Benny's Creepy Campfire Stories. I'm your host, Uncle Benny. Now, I'm aware I've had another subscriber or two. Oh, wow, that's cool. You know, there's actually people out there who maybe at least land on the page. So welcome to Uncle Benny's Creepy Campfire Stories. This is a side project called... Hang on a minute, got an ad point somewhere. You've given me... Yeah. So this is a side project that I've been doing for about 2 months and a week of looking at the Drudge Report, which I call the Sludge Report. Well, what I'm making is the Sludge Report. It's based on the Drudge Report, which is the most visited conservative news aggregate website in the world. Let's see how many visitors in the last 24 hours. Okay, again, it's a weekend. Usually it's about 30 to 31 million. From Saturday to Sunday, we got 23.5 million people taking a break. About 7 million people took a break from the news. Well, good for them. 836 million, almost a billion people in the last 31 days. Now think about that. Think about it. Again, this I'm going through this. I'm going to make a short, video, an introductory video, so I don't have to keep repeating this to the channel. And I haven't done it yet. It won't be very long in the future, and I will have that because sometimes I say it, and most times I say this, and sometimes I don't. But I'm aware that maybe there's some people that are new to the channel, and what I'm doing here, and what we're doing is we're framing the news with the Word of God, first of all. But secondly, we're doing what the Master said in Matthew 24 is when the disciples asked him, what will be the sign of your return and the end of the age? You know, the first things out of his holy mouth were these words, take heed that no man deceive you. We are living in an age of deceit. And if you don't know that's true, well, I've got some bad news for you, sunshine. So what I was saying during the music, the intro music, the bumper music, if it is, as it's called, I guess, Howard Beale's rant from the movie Network, one of two that I can recall, powerful soliloquies that are 40 years old, more relevant today than ever. And I tend to interject this in almost every video in the last week or so, embellish it just a little bit, but to make it, we don't just sit with TVs, we sit with phones and the internet. And this video, I haven't been feeling well. I actually was quite ill about 2 weeks ago through that week, and I'm still, it comes and goes. I'm not at the top of my game. Let me put it that way. So I'm going to do some easy lifting today, and I'm going to play a lot of videos so you don't have to listen to me that much, and I may stop and comment. you would really have to be have your head in the sand or be on vacation or something to not know about the here you go, the fire alarm red, the red letter version of the news, just like the red letter version of your Bible, right? You got the red letter versions of the news. This is important. Second mass shooting in 12 hours, 9 dead in Ohio. And I haven't really looked at this one hardly at all, but I've cruised some things on the El Paso, Texas massacre. And interestingly enough, I was able to find a few things that normally we're not finding anymore. And before I get to that, I want to make I need to preface this entire, what's to follow here, that this is advanced, okay? You may go flying out of the back of the truck in a minute, and this may be over your head. And that's okay. Now, I'm not talking down to you. I'm not mansplaining. I'm just saying I'm well aware that many people, when the truth smacks them in the face, they get really angry. Or if it gives them cognitive dissonance, they get very angry. They get upset. They dismiss it. It can't be, are famous words out of many people's mouths when they hear something that's unusual. That just can't be. Well, I got some bad news for you, sunshine. It can be, and it is. And if you've not done the work, remember, the master said, take heed. That means you got to do a little work. You've got to do some due diligence. You've got to do some, you got to take some care. Now, we need to start this off with one of the things you'll find me saying many times that I approach many subjects with is the premise correct? Are we starting off on a false premise? It's one of the, repetition is the simplest form of mind control, very powerful, by the way. A false premise is another form of mind control. And again, back to about the news, framing it in the Word of God, we are here to cut through the doom, gloom, uncertainty, lies, propaganda, and outright scientific mind control, social engineering, all the things that come through. And I'm on purpose using as a talking point, or a talking piece, the document that we're looking at, the format is the Drudge Report, because it's ostensibly a conservative, the right side. It's conservative news aggregate, news site. Well, is it? That's the premise, but I would say that premise is wrong. The Drudge Report started in Matt Drudge's Hollywood apartment bedroom many years ago as a Hollywood gossip website and Washington, D.C. gossip website. And I posit that it still is. Now, we're going to focus on the shooting thing going on. And you already maybe are tuning in to say, he's going to say it. He's going to say it's fake. He's going to say it's a hoax. I'm not going to say really a lot. We're just going to go through some of these things. Well, that's probably not true. I probably will start talking. But what have I concluded about this? Well, just like the Garlic Festival shooting, something stinks. And I think you'll see it. Now, another thing that you need to be aware of, I'm trying to not use... Now, one thing I will reserve as far as bad language goes is that when I refer to lies, I have no problem saying goddamn lies. If the word goddamn freaks you out, if you are a religious church lady and this makes you upset, okay, well, thanks for coming out. I'm sorry for your precious ears getting hurt, and I hope you will rethink it, because liars, all liars, will have their part in the lake of fire in the second death. They're goddamn liars. Now, when these people are lying to you, you should have no problem referring to them as goddamn liars. And may God grant them repentance. So, I want to say that because even though I will still occasionally surgically, if you will, use a four-letter word or a foul word for effect, I want to play a video that is, I couldn't edit it out. If I could, let me put it this way. If I could find this video without the language, I would certainly choose that over this. But it's 2 minutes long, and I think you should be mature enough to be able to handle it. Hopefully these kind of words don't come out of your mouth unless maybe, we've all heard them, unless maybe you hit your thumb with a hammer accidentally. But anyway, breaking news. Some BS happening somewhere. So let's watch this. And again, we're framing the news. Keep this in mind. One of the premises, and again, back to the deal with, is the premise correct? The premise that most of us go into hearing these things on the radio is the assumption that it's true. But I want to urge you, brothers and sisters, to change the premise when you hear the goddamn liars. And they are known to be liars. And I'm not just talking about the new advent of the term, quote unquote, fake news. There's fake news and there's spin, and fake news meaning 100% fake, made up. And I'll give you for instance, years ago, in I believe it was San Francisco, it was a Japanese airline or Chinese something landed with no landing gear, skidded along the runway. I believe no one was hurt except a girl was killed by a fire truck run over in the foam. Now, you can find pictures of them hauling the plane off the runway on a big flatbed type of some kind of transport vehicle. There's no scrapes and scratches on the underbelly of this aircraft. What does that tell you? I know, it just can't be. It's impossible. That's crazy. Well, is it? Now, that's an example of quote-unquote fake news. Now, I haven't looked at that story in a long, long time, but I remember seeing that, and it's puzzling evidence. And we're going to look at some puzzling evidence. And there's some BS happening somewhere all the time. And you are absolutely guaranteed to get it delivered to your doorstep of your eyes and ears somehow, somewhere. Maybe they talked about it in church today. Shake their head, clucking. Oh, what a shame. Oh, it's just crazy out there. Oh, it's just the world's going crazy. Everyone, everything, everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. Yeah. Doom, gloom, feel bad, be scared, be afraid all the time. Look at your neighbor suspiciously. Really? Okay, let's watch this.
Now, in a desperate attempt to fill 24 hours of programming, here's some bullshit that happened somewhere today. We've got some footage here of the bullshit, which began just after 3 o'clock this afternoon, when residents in this neighborhood were shocked to see this fairly common thing happening. An attractive witness described the event in breathless terms.
I went to my window and I was like, whoa, there's some bullshit happening.
That happened right over there. I'm an older man, so you can trust what I say.
Authorities in special uniforms rushed to the scene to stand around while our cameras filmed them. Our reporter Keith Collins joins us now live from the scene of the bullshit through the use of expensive technology. Good to be with you again, Keith. We have a colorful graphic here that shows instances of bullshit like this are on the rise. Is that right?
Yes, although why is unclear. Some say it's because of one fucking reason. Others say it's because of some other fucking reason. I talked to this random expert on the subject who told me this thing you're about to hear him say right after he points at a piece of paper.
I spent my entire life attending the nation's most prestigious schools to talk about bullshit like this. I'm really just happy to be on TV.
Now let's see if we can drag this out a little longer by showing emails written by some of our viewers. I once saw some stuff kind of like the shit you're talking about happen. I have nothing more to add. Another person says, I am angry that things like this happen. I get mad about every bullshit thing I see. So obviously a lot of opinions there to make this story seem somewhat meaningful.
Oh, absolutely, Glenn. This bullshit has some broader implications. Here's a list of tips on how to avoid bullshit happening to you.
And here's some footage of Congress.
Yes, I see that.
Well, thank you, Keith. Let us know if there are any updates on this bullshit story from there.
There's no way there will be.
Very good. We'll check back with you in an hour anyway.
I'm just some fucking guy.
When we return, we'll look at live footage of a car chase taken from a helicopter and free associate about what's going on.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that. It's funny because it's true. Now, when you see the news framed like that, right? That was from The Onion. They're a satirical website. They produce funny little skits and things like that. It's absolutely brilliant. I do believe, okay, I can understand the word BS. The F word, completely unnecessary. That's unfortunate. Most people, younger people today, don't seem to be sensitive to that being a pretty egregious word. And again, don't mistake me from this holy roller who's never uttered a bad word or anything like that. No, my mouth has seen them all at some point or another, and I'm sure that in days to come, weeks, years to come, one of those words might come out of my mouth again. So I'm not a holier than thou person. Don't get all worked up because there's some quote unquote religious stuff in this video. Okay. Now I want to play this 6-minute clip of Vincent Rhodes. He's somebody who I just added as a featured channel. My brother. I've never met the man, but he's great. He's a man of God. And again, we're working on our premise here, approaching what really ought to cause a whole nation to grieve and mourn. But we just had a shooting on what, Saturday or Sunday? The Garlic Fest, Sunday night. The Garlic Fest, no, wait, that was last weekend, wasn't it? Yeah, last weekend. Just had one. And then by Wednesday or Thursday, I made commentary about this, completely off the news. It's gone, taken down. There's nothing there about it, even though we should have more information. Anyway, let's listen to Brother Vincent Rhodes. I urge you to check out his channel.
Well, hello, and thank you for tuning in. I'm Vincent Rhodes.
He made this morning, by the way, on his way to the gym before church.
Your host, and as you can see, I'm getting out early this morning trying to get to the gym before we get to church. But I wanted to talk to you this morning about the headlines and basically why I don't believe the headlines anymore, and what the headlines say. And I know that, again, even just saying that you don't believe the headlines, then you have the thought police already arming themselves up to take offense to what you say. But basically, I don't believe the headlines that we're seeing today or any other time because, there is so much deception, and we're really living in a time of great deceit. And I think it was George Orwell who once said it, that in an age of universal deceit, or a time of universal deceit, telling the truth becomes a revolutionary act. And I just don't think we have that many revolutionaries who will tell us the truth, who will stand up for the people and give them the straight story. I think we're living in a time now where people are being taken advantage of by the political media and the elites, using mind control, mind manipulation in order to get their agenda pushed. And so that's where we live right now. That's the type of age that we live in. And, basically we're on the right track when it comes down to being Christians. If you're going to be a Christian, you have to be willing to stand up for the truth, to say what's true, to, share videos about the truth and a number of things like that. I woke up this morning and I wrote a letter to the Patreons, and all of my Patreons, I let them know, how valuable they were to supporting the truth. And, it was a personal letter that I wrote to them, only just to the Patreons, because, I wanted them to know just how important it is to stand up for the truth, how important this Christian fight is, that we participate and be active in terms of just getting active in getting the truth out of Christ, of even the nature of the world that we live in, teaching the Bible in the correct way that it should be taught, teaching our children the proper things in school. All of that is important. So that's what went out to the Patreons this morning, a personal letter to them. But again, we are living in times now of great deceit. And if you look at the headlines, and I'm not even going to talk about what the headlines say. I know you've already read the headlines. And if you read the headlines, you'll know that they have an agenda to push forward their protocol, their plan for the New World Order agenda. And that includes all of us doing what they tell us to do, being docile and productive, but not questioning anything, and just being little sheep led along to the slaughter. And this is what Jesus said. This is how the Antichrist will come. He will come in peace. He will force people into a way of peace, but by peace, he will destroy many. That's what the Antichrist will do. And, the Bible lets us know very plain in Romans chapter 1, verse 18, that men suppress the truth, in unrighteousness so that they can carry on their unrighteous deeds of pedophilia, of, immoral acts, and the like. So if you read Romans chapter 1, verse 18, you'll discover that. But also, here's the thing, you need to read John chapter 8, where Jesus says that he is the truth, and that basically that the truth will set you free. If you know the truth, you will know the truth, and the truth shall set you free if you really know it. So it's important, again, guys, that we participate in activities that lead us into the truth. Don't fall for the media lies, the information that's coming out on all of the television networks, and it even includes Fox. We have to be very careful about what we put into our eyes and our ears. And this is what Jesus said. Again, we are to be on guard, because Satan, as a roaring lion, is going about this world seeking whom he may devour. And he's going to devour us up with mind manipulation and control. And then he satisfies the masses with education, or entertainment, not education, but you might as well say education, but it's entertainment. And it's entertainment designed to keep you stupid, and to keep you docile, productive, but never asking the right questions, believing only what you hear from the mainstream media and all of those things. So, it's important now more than ever that we be aware, be aware and be alert to the times that we live in. Well, anyway, I'm going to get inside here. I'm going to do a little bit of walking on this treadmill. I'm going to lift some weights if I can. Try to do something. Anyway, until next time, guys, remember that Jesus is the light of the world, and the truth will set you free. God bless. Have a good day today at Sunday. Worship God wherever you are, and remember that Jesus is coming back. God bless.
What a blessing that guy is. Now, I've never spoken to the man, never spoken to him. But you would almost think, it would seem that we had a meeting this morning and we're singing out of the same hymn book. But you know why? Because the spirit that's in him is the same spirit that's working in me. I was just astounded when I hadn't even watched the whole thing. I just saw a little bit of it and thought, I'm gonna play this because I watched a minute or two of it, and I'm like, he's saying what I'm saying, what I intended to say today, and what I often repeat. And I urge you to check out his channel. He deals a lot with the lies of NASA. That's a different topic, right? We live in a world full of lies. Anyway, Vincent Rhodes, that was a real blessing. And I hope that same spirit is in you. If not, ask the Lord to fill you. Renew your mind, the Word of God. You're on the right track by even watching one or two of my videos, and maybe it'll lead you to other places, your own journey, your own growth, So he did not, I know he was referring to these headlines. Again, this was made this morning, Sunday, August 4th. He didn't want to say the headlines. Why? Well, as I even mentioned in a video or two, a day or two ago, I didn't make one yesterday. We need to take a break from this stuff, that many YouTubers seem to be afraid of even saying things like false flag, hoax, or whatever, because as I mentioned before, even over 10 years ago, I had a voicemail that I would get transcripted and emailed to me. Didn't even have to go call it up and listen. I'd get a text or an email with a very accurate transcription. So the algorithms that are scrubbing YouTube, even as we speak, because of these shootings. Remember, the Garlic Festival shooting, I searched for false flag, hoax, this and that, which is, again, I was trying to be instructive of like, okay, this is kind of how I approach these things to see what people are saying, because there's some very good, astute people who will catch things in news reports that I may never catch or I may never see. And you start to put together a mosaic. Did this really happen? Now, I always approach these with the whether or not this is a real thing that happened. We need to assume until shown otherwise that people did die. Because as I've said before, these monsters, these goddamn liars who are manipulating the world, remember their god is Lucifer. And the Western world in particular is run by Luciferian pederasts. Okay? Yeah. Child molesters. Did you go flying out of the back of the truck? Hold on. You can even watch this video and hold me in derision. Doesn't matter. Just get through it. Okay? Stick around. Give you something to think about. So, I approach these things. I will go through and first of all, until I'm shown otherwise, the assumption is there are real victims. People really died. Now, that's not always the case. Many times it's not. There's no real victims. Or maybe there's one or two. Maybe somebody died, but not all the people they say died. What are you talking about, Uncle Benny? Like I said, this is advanced. This is not kindergarten. This isn't first grade, second grade, fifth grade, junior high, or even high school. This is advanced stuff. If this is all new to you, you've got some work to do on your own, okay? Nobody's paying me to educate you. I'm just doing this for my own edification and because I felt I've gotten rusty at the Word of God. And I need to, the things that come into my mind, and I got to go look them up. And where is that again? Even though I know them, the Holy Spirit quickens them to me. You know, things atrophy. You need to make sure that you are moving. You know, if you stop moving, you're going to wither. And that's true for your handle on the Word of God. You need to be trafficking in it. It's a living thing. Okay, so once again, he was referring to the headlines, and this is what he's referring to. Now, this is 9 dead in Ohio. We know in El Paso, there's 20 killed yesterday by this guy. Now, let's look at this for a minute. Again, we're just going to look at some things. And they may be in a particular order, but I've kind of since lost any kind of a framework. I've just pulled up things as I was looking. I was very fortunate. Again, what I like to do is I search immediately when something like this happens. I search for, well, sorry about that. This girl made a, she's questioning it, and it's a horrible video with terrible audio. I'm probably not going to play it. I'm just going to look at the title. Anyway, I searched hoax. I just put in El Paso and hoax, and I got a lot of hits, which if I did it again, I would assume is not going to be the same amount because they disappear. And case in point right here, this channel does not exist. Now, if I refreshed any of these, if I refresh the browser, which I don't want to do, there's a chance that these channels will disappear or the videos will be taken down, flagged, right? People have to be very careful. Okay, there's something, I don't know why the volume is so loud here. Apologize for that. People have to disguise, like FF, that stands for false flag, and then he writes attack. So he's masking the way he titles this because he doesn't want his video taken down, you know? That goes on. Why does that go on? Because there is a very proactive effort through algorithms and analysts to take questioning videos of these things down. Now, right there, that's troubling. That should be a signal to you. It's like carry that data point forward, put a check mark there. It's like, why, if these things are true, why is there a problem with wingnuts questioning it? After all, they're wingnuts, right? They're conspiracy theorists. Well, then why you got to hide it? Why do you have to hide their videos and their analysis of news reports, their commentary on the fact that they're discovering numerology all throughout the scene? They're discovering people who are clearly reading a script instead of being genuine, from the heart witnesses. Why do they have to hide that? Well, because the goyim know. People are on to them. And you should be too. Again, a premise we should approach these things with is like, gee, that's horrible. People died. Satan is out killing people. It's true. But did this really happen organically? Is this a white supremacist guy, that's the narrative. That's what they're putting forward. A white guy who's hates Latinos. And we're going to talk about some of the things that they say he said or posted. But it's very puzzling. So anyway, bloodbath in Texas, 20 killed. Walmart massacre. Now, why is it important that it's a Walmart? You know, most people, I forgot the percentage, but do you realize that in America, most people get their food at Walmart? The majority of grocery shopping is done at Walmart. This is like shooting up an elementary school or your church. Pretty important target. Now, the premise for the non-thinking people is that he hated, he's from Allen, Texas, which is further north, quite a bit further north. And he went to El Paso because he's got to stop the invasion. Really? That's absurd. Now remember, we are entering the theater of the absurd. We need to put on the whole armor of God. We need to be prepared. Remember something. Proverbs 4. That's for today. 31 chapters of Proverbs, one for each day of the month, and an extra one in the month, so there are 30 days. For they sleep not, except they have done mischief, and their sleep is taken away, unless they cause some to fall. For they eat the bread of wickedness and drink the wine of violence. You think that was just back then? No. The powers that shouldn't be lose sleep if they haven't done wickedly. They lose sleep unless they cause some to fall away from God, to die. You could, there's several applications there. They eat the bread of wickedness. They feed upon it and drink the wine of violence and corruption. That's wisdom. That's the book of wisdom. That's the spirit of truth. You think about that. And Jesus said to them, take heed that no man deceive you. Okay? All right. So let's take a look at this. Again, I don't have all the answers. I don't know what happened. But as I said with the garlic festival shooting, the initial accounts, and I said it the day it happened or whenever I made the video, like the next morning, whatever it was, very shortly thereafter, always reports of there was a second gunman. There was somebody that seemed to be helping him. But then that I called it. That disappeared. Oh no, it's just lone wolf, acted alone. Same thing here. We've heard, they were talking, I'm not sure if I've got any of these pulled up that will show that, but if you watch the news, there was talk of multiple shooters. Multiple shooters. Well, what were there multiple shooters? The same things, believable reports. Same thing with the Parkland school or Parkland, Florida, the high school deal. There were people looked like police in body armor, black, and there was more than one, different ends of the building shooting, but yet we end up with just this one guy. Same here. Now I'm going to give you something for free. Language is extremely powerful, and the powers that shouldn't be know that. That's why they've got you calling your children kids, like goats, instead of children. Oh, did you ever think about that? Some of you have. I've mentioned this before. When you hear the words active shooter, now think about it. That's kind of weird, isn't it? Do you remember the first time you ever heard that? Active shooter. Active shooter. Versus what? An inactive shooter? I want you to hear it, and you will hear it differently from now on. Activated shooter. So let's make the premise that this really happened. The guy really had a gun. He was a real shooter. But who is he? Now, this is, again, one of those things that for some people, they can't wrap their mind around it. But that's because you've no heart for the truth. You've never gone looking to see what really is. Try to deal with reality as it really is. It's the only way. And the reality is there are techniques through conditioning, drugs, blackmail, all kinds of ways to create a Manchurian candidate. Someone who is utterly an automaton, basically, who can be activated. For example, Sirhan Sirhan. There's a lot of evidence that he was either activated just as a patsy, or maybe he participated, but he was, again, under mind control. Well, that's crazy, Uncle Benny. Okay, thanks for coming out. Bye-bye. Okay? And forgive me for being a little bit, I don't have the precious time for it. I don't need to condescend my intellect and my heart for the truth for those who are just dismissive, who ridicule, who can't deal with reality because they don't want to live in a world that's not made up. I'm sorry. I want to take heed that no man deceives me. I want to know the signs of his return. I want to be looking up. I need to be aware that we're living on a battlefield. You are. Doesn't mean life doesn't have its enjoyments and pleasures, but as it said, this is, for those who are saved, this is as close to hell as you're going to get. And that's another topic, by the way. For those who aren't, this is as close to heaven as they're going to get. Well, that's another topic again, heaven and hell. That's a different story. So here we are staring at the screen again, the red letter version about shootings. Be afraid. You can't go out anymore. In fact, let me see if I can find the article. Well, maybe I will later. I'll come across it. Somebody's comments said the exact same thing I read in the Howard Beale rant. Leave us alone in our living rooms with our TV and our steel-belted radios and our toaster. Just leave us alone. Can't go out anymore. Okay, so we can actually close this. I want you to pay close attention to this picture. Now, I've never seen, this is reportedly an AK-47. I find it odd that magazine is that lighter color. And there are guns that have a lighter stock and things like that, but it's very light. It's kind of, was this a real gun? That's an important question to ask. It's an important question to ask. Now, another curious thing is, notice he's wearing these headphones. Are they noise canceling, like to, people wear them at shooting ranges to protect their ears? Or is this some kind of is he receiving instructions? Or is it an electrical device that he's wearing which helps to keep him under control? Well, that's nutso, man. That's crazy. What are you talking about? Well, these are questions important to ask. Important to ask because it could be. Now, let's see here. Okay, this must be the Ohio. This just refreshed. The Drudge Report refreshes all the time. Let's see the shirt. These kind of things are important details. Again, I go through this, and this is kind of how I look at the news. What's his shirt say? No heart to something. No soul to steal, maybe? No heart to something, no soul to whatever. No heart and no soul. Interesting. Isn't that curious? Interesting. So, abandoned shoes left behind as panicked flee. Scared them right out of their socks, I guess. Another thing that we've seen in the last week or so, motives unknown, but they will put out, interestingly enough, they will make a point. They've made a point in the last week or so in these 3 shootings, 3 murders, massacres, to state that we don't know the motives. But here's his manifesto, so you get to fill in the blank. It's probably more powerful for you to draw your own conclusion and feel like you've got the right answer about the racist motives or whatever than it is for them to tell you what to think, because the Goyim know, and they know that the Goyim know that they don't like being told what to think. So there you go. Now that's a tell. Why is it being reported like that? Motive unknown. Now that's the Dayton bar thing. I don't know what happened there. The guy just upset, jealous, was at a bar, it was late at night. don't mistake my skepticism for thinking that every single one of these, that there are never any mass murders. For example, I've forgotten her name, but the gal that the Boomtown Rats wrote a song called "I Don't Like Mondays." That was the girl's answer back in, I think, 1978 or 79. She lived across the street from an elementary school and started sniping people, killed the principal, a child or two. I don't remember, but the reporters asked her. She was arrested, taken away. "I don't like Mondays," she said. I believe that was a real situation. Okay, so again, this is interesting. Another weekend, more slaughter. Interesting. Interesting. So let me close this. Again, we looked at that picture. Now I want to show you another picture that I pulled up, and not just me. I found it. Somebody else noticed this. Okay. The guy's name, he was 21 years old, born July 27th. So this is a couple days after his birthday now he did this. All right. Patrick Crucius. Interesting last name. I've never heard it before. Sometimes those are important things, to look up someone's name. What does that mean? Where does that come from? Well, anyway, this is reportedly him. Look at this face. Then look at this picture. Is it the same guy? It looks different. It might be the same guy. I don't know. But this is interesting. He's wearing these cargo pants with big pockets. Over here, even though the photo's a little bit blurry, they don't seem to be the same pants. These look like slacks. Another thing, an observation I want to point out to you, does this guy look like European white guy? To me, again, don't go flying out of the back of the wagon. If I had to put money on it, I would say he might be Jewish. He looks Jewish. Why is that important? Well, you've got to look at the big picture. Who are the powers that shouldn't be? Who is trying to, who runs the media? Who runs the pornography industry? Who runs Hollywood? And why? Why are they corrupting why are they destroying this nation? Which they are. Now, before you call me an anti-Semite, by the way, by the time you get through this, you're probably going to call me all kinds of things. But you'd be wrong. And, but you have a choice. You can be wrong if you want. That's fine. Okay, here's another. This is a little bit better. Okay, so here again, these are clearly cargo pants that have, I would presume, magazines in them. He's not carrying a duffel bag. Don't know if he's wearing a pack, but he's not carrying a duffel bag. He's wearing cargo pants. And this, he's got slacks. Somebody else noticed this. Now, I don't know. The shirt looks pretty much the same. But they're saying his build is different. And his face looks different. I would have to agree. Now, this is grainy. Is this conclusive? No. This could be totally just a trick of the camera. So it's a data point, though. Remember, it's a data point. The premise that most people operate on is that this happened, it's horrible, it's everything they're saying, and they take their mind out of gear and let the media drive. Well, put your mind in gear and put on the brakes. That's all I'm saying. Let's put on the brakes. Take heed, the master said out of his holy mouth, that no man deceive you. That will be the sign of the end of the age. Deception, mind control is all around you. I've said that for years. Mind control is all around us. From your television to your government re-education camps, known as the public schools. Okay. All right, this is about the one in Ohio. I didn't really check this one out too much. Back-to-back massacres. Now, one thing I don't want to make a prediction morbidly, but as I said about the second shooter with the garlic thing, I said, well, you watch. They'll drop this and say it was a lone guy. And they did. And the same thing has happened here. I've heard up to 4. There was some reports, I couldn't find it, but somebody alluded to a report in the Daily Mail that said witnesses described 4 men dressed in black who carried this out. That's not unprecedented. So back-to-back massacres. So what I'm going to morbidly kind of point out here is to look for a pattern that, we've this routine of having mass shootings has, on a somewhat frequent basis, whether they're real or not, has not been working. So what are we seeing here? Back to back. Now think about that. The exponential psychological impact. You know, just like any drug, people are numb. People are numb to this stuff. How do I know? Are you numb to it? Did you already forget about the Garlic Festival by Wednesday last week? That shooting? It was like, oh, shake your head. Oh, it's terrible. It's tragic. It's horrible. And then by Wednesday, you didn't give it another thought. And that's on purpose. Keep the news cycle. And remember, that happened very curiously right after their second attempt with this Mueller debacle, right? Now, by the way, again, if you're new to this, I'm no Trumpster, okay? All the world's a stage. Never forget that. That's a premise that you can pretty much put a lot. I'm an odds player. Odds are pretty high that, and it's been said that nothing happens in politics that they don't know ahead of time the outcome or what's going to happen. So anyway, you see the videos, deadly newspaper rampage, Maryland newspaper shooting. That's May 18th last year. So I don't know what that's about. Let's see. This guy was carrying a .223 caliber rifle similar to AK-47. Always the AR-15 or assault rifle, you know, which is basically a mind control word as well. All right, so I'm not really seeing here what another thing that we want to be aware of, brothers and sisters. Again, this is about another thing, by the way, I talk about on the Sludge Report is the horrible, poor journalism, the questions that don't get asked. So one thing that I want you to be very mindful of when you hear about these activated shoot, remember that not active shooter, activated. Try to replace that active shooter with activated, and it will put your frame of mind to be very cautious about what they're telling you. One of the things is another tell. So I would say odds are very high that in the Walmart in El Paso, where 20 were killed and at least as many injured, I don't remember the number, there were more than 40 or 50 people in the Walmart. Now, what are the odds that someone there did not have a cell phone? They're pretty slim. Most people are carrying a smartphone that has video capability. One thing that we see in these mass shootings is either horrible video, you don't ever see the shooter, you don't see the victims, you rarely see much of anything at all. Nothing conclusive. Well, Uncle Benny, who's going to whip out their phone when they're afraid for their lives? Fair point, but it's curious. It's curious. Now, I did see one video of some guy hiding under one of the aisles, shelves, or stands. He squeezed under there, and you hear a pop somewhere in the store. But it's not conclusive. Again, don't just assume because they show it to you that it's real. This is getting a little too much for me. You're a conspiracy theorist. No. When you've been lied to, when you do your homework, like I said, remember, this isn't kindergarten. The presumption is, and I know not everyone has, but that you've looked into this kind of thing before and you've seen that they're lying to you a lot of times, that it didn't happen or it didn't happen anything like they said. And once they lie to you, you cannot assume they're telling you the truth. You must assume they're lying to you on some level, from every level to on some level. You're being lied to for an agenda. It's what Brother Vincent Rose was talking about and what I talk about, that this fits a narrative. So anyway, let's see here. Most of us can't get to our cars because there are bodies scattered all over across the street from our cars, an eyewitness told Dayton ABC affiliate WKEF. People that were shot, hit, innocent people. We can't get home to our families now, and those people aren't going home to their families either. Well, that brings it home, doesn't it? It's very emotional, compelling. Let's see here. Excuse me. Pope Francis says, I'm spiritually close to the victims of the episodes of violence that have bloodied Texas, California, Ohio, and the United States, striking defenseless people. Okay, now, I did remember scanning this. Defenseless people. We live in a nation, and this was about Ohio, but he's also talking about Gilroy, El Paso, and Dayton, and Texas. Think about Texas, cowboys, okay? Defenseless people. So you're telling me that in that entire Walmart that all these people were defenseless? Well, as Clint Eastwood said when he shot Mr. Greeley, who propped his friend Ned up in the movie on the front of his saloon, in the movie Unforgiven, and Little Bill, the sheriff of the town, says, you are a coward, you just shot a defenseless, an unarmed man. That's what he said. And William Money says, well, he should have armed himself. He's going to decorate his establishment with my friend. Now, am I advising or saying that everyone ought to be walking around all the time carrying arms? Well, you know, and the way they're making it sound, the world is out there, you almost need to. Well, with all these shootings, why aren't more people getting their concealed carry license, which is another topic, by the way. A license is basically buying back something that you have the freedom for anyway, a right to, okay? That's another subject. Defenseless people. Well, whose fault is that? Now, I'm not victim shaming. I don't necessarily walk around all the time armed to the teeth or be ready for something like this with a weapon to shoot back. But you would think in a El Paso, where there's a mall there, I believe there was a Hooters, there was, I'm sure, other restaurants, and then the Walmart, that there aren't any able-bodied, courageous men who run towards the danger with their weapons drawn because they're carrying. It's kind of odd, I would say. Is it possible that no one in the area had a gun, or the ones who did were just cowardly and ran away or didn't want to get involved? Sure, okay, sure. But think about it. Rarely any real videos of these kind of things happening. Rarely any real videos, and rarely do you find somebody takes out the assailant. Heck, in this case, the massive police presence, they didn't even take him out. And that's something curious as well. We're going to watch that. Okay, I don't know why the volume has just suddenly gotten incredibly loud here. I want to play you a very short video, if I can find it, of the arrest of this guy.
Good morning, Midland.
The arrest of this guy.
Hey, everybody.
Okay, the volume is just on these videos is just gone through the roof here. Excuse me. I'm really sorry. Okay, there's the guy under the you know, whatever it is, the stand, hiding out, and there's somebody. So there's this guy, and then obviously somebody's filming him. Okay, just a minute. Got to find this because it's important.
He is from Allen.
Okay, I think this might be it. So, suspect, 21-year-old, he was taken without incident. He was not killed. Okay, I haven't seen this video. Let's see here. All right, I haven't watched that one either. This girl, I don't know about this video, but the other one, the kids are screaming. I'm not going to play it. I'm not going to play some of these. But you can see that there are plenty of people that immediately recognize that there's possibly something wrong with this. It definitely fits an agenda. Let's see, where is it? Okay. Well, I don't know where it is. That's unfortunate. I really wanted to play this little clip of the guy being arrested. You would think he got arrested for jaywalking. Just one officer. I don't think the officer that's escorting him away in handcuffs is even as tall as the guy. Let's see. I want to find it. Okay, this is not it. Suspect and all pictured. Okay, so maybe this is, yeah, maybe this is it. I know he's just pictured, so they just have pictures of him. Trying to find it. Bear with me. Not finding it. All right, so I don't know what happened. I dropped the ball on that one, folks. Sorry about that. Maybe it'll turn up. Maybe it'll turn up here. This is all about the Dayton one. So anyway, the point being is that you can find it yourself, okay? It would be helpful to be able to play it for you because it's puzzling evidence. Why is this guy... It's like he just got arrested for jaywalking. You would think he would be down on the ground, several officers. You know, it's amazing that he's shot all these people, he's fully armed, and then somehow he walks away without a scratch. How did that surrender go down? I find that very curious. It's a data point. That's very curious that he wasn't killed. And many times they're killed. These kind of shooters, they're wiped out. You don't get to know what they did. Another thing, and I don't have the stories up, but I saw it yesterday, that his some of his social media posts or accounts after this happened, right after the shooting, the posts were deleted. So is this guy on his phone and he's editing a social media account? Now you may not find that really meaningful or significant, but it's very curious. Sometimes the timing of these, when GoFundMes are established, by the way, if you're never heard of this kind of thing, sometimes they're set up before the shooting happens for the victims. It's very curious. And they can explain it away, some glitch in the system, but really, you know, are they peeing on your back and telling you it's raining? I think so. Very curious. Again, I don't know. Did anybody really die? Maybe so. Okay, I'm kind of getting tired here. You know, this, like I said, this is not going to be this is all about Dayton, and I don't know enough about that one, so we're going to close that one down. I guess I'm just hung up on trying to find that video of the guy getting arrested. It's very puzzling, very troubling. Well, anyway, moving on. Okay, El Paso Shooting Victims Fund. You can just come here and one confirmed shooter. That would mean that there's another one that wasn't confirmed. Now, remember, that's curious. Why are they always people saying multiple shooters? Are the witnesses just that dumb? Or is there basis in reality? And what does it mean? Well, I've talked to you about a handler, possibly a handler. Someone who is, just like you might take a sheepdog and guide him up the hill and give him commands. It's the same thing. One confirmed shooter entered several busy retail locations and opened fire. El Paso Community Foundation is accepting funds to help the families of those affected. Foundation will waive all administrative fees and pay all credit card fees associated with this fund. So I don't see, you know, how much has been given, but you could go here and give them money. I'm going to tell you, don't give them a dime. Even assuming that people were really hurt, don't go to a GoFundMe page for this or that victim. We talked about this in the video on the Garlic Festival. And they're already raised like almost $250,000, I think it was, between the different groups and victims. Well, how do you think they fund black operations? That may be one of the ways. Again, many of these GoFundMe pages are set up ahead of time, the day before, the night before. Very curious. So anyway, you know, of course, the fund can give them money. Oh, Uncle Benny, you're really, that's hard-hearted and very cynical. Okay, well, if you walked a mile in my shoes, walking through this BS, you'd realize it's not. Take heed that no man deceive you. Okay, active shooter drill next week. Now, again, this is just, let's call it a rumor. I read through comments and things, and somebody was saying that, maybe it was over here on the Daily Mail. Somebody was saying that Walmart just last week had they do quarterly active shooter drills or something like that. And I don't know if that's true. But again, another tell very often is that on the day of or around the day, there was an active shooter drill being carried out. Then it goes live. Now, I'm not saying that's what happened here. I'm just saying I found it very curious that anyway, we'll read these comments in a minute, I think. Active shooter drills. So be aware, be aware. These drills are making it like it's a real threat all the time. Be very afraid. This channel does not exist. Maybe Uncle Benny's channel won't exist tomorrow. Try to make this video. We'll see. So this girl just gives 2 minutes. The video, the audio is horrible, but she. One thing I want to point out as well is that many of the people that question these hoaxes, you'll find that they're Christians and very bold Christians. Her channel is called. This is important. Her channel is called "There Is a Battle for Your Soul. Jesus Loves You." Now, do you think the Spirit of truth is in her? The Holy Spirit, make no mistake, is the Spirit of truth. Take heed that no man deceive you. Vincent Rhodes, he's a pastor. I believe he's a pastor. Well, he certainly is a pastor to some degree through YouTube. He's a man of God, Bible-believing Christian who cuts through the lies, kind of like what I'm doing here myself, who very diligent to be sure that you know that we're being lied to. Why are so many Christians question these things? Well, you think the Bible was lying when it said the Holy Spirit shall guide you into all truth? I don't remember chapter and verse. That's exactly the kind of thing I'm talking about, why I even make these videos. So I kind of blow the dust off, and I got to go find out where that is. It's in the New Testament somewhere. The Holy Spirit will guide you into all truth. QAnon New Zealand, as expected by Q. Now, I'm not a Q follower. If you don't know what Q is, there's different theories of who it is, but it's somebody who basically makes these posts, and they seem to be a high-level insider. They have insight into what's going on or what's about to happen. And actually, there's been some very interesting things, right down to the date and time that the guys called things out a year in advance. It's very interesting. Now, I don't follow him. There's evidence that it's a psyop, meaning it's a manipulation of people. This guy, I think, is a believer of QAnon. There was life before QAnon, and there's life after. So I've got the Holy Spirit of truth. I don't necessarily need Q to tell me what's going on. Okay, neither do you. Links to NZ mosque shooting. Now, why is that important? Now, this guy is a New Zealander, I believe. The New Zealand mosque shooting. You remember that one? Not that long ago. Well, the guy videoed it. He's going around shooting, goes in the mosque, opens fire, and he's live streaming it. Why is that important? Well, there's video evidence of a guy laying there who's supposed to be one of the victims, and then there's another photo of him using his phone and texting and things like that, or the body's being moved around in different scenes, different shots. The upshot is there's something rotten in Denmark there that didn't really go down the way they said. There's a lot of video evidence that would suggest that was that's phony baloney. Something wrong with that picture. Again, I don't know. Did anyone die? I don't know. But there's something really wrong with that picture, and there's video evidence if you'll just take the time to look at it. I'm not pulling it up. You can do your own homework. Just to give me the benefit of the doubt that I'm not talking out of my behind, and there's reasons to believe this stuff, and you go on your own little journey and pray. Ask the Lord to show you what's really going on. So, anyway, there you go. This guy links it to the New Zealand mosque shooting, basically along the same themes. It's gun grabs. QAnon New Zealand, imminent attack. This was August 1st. Now check this. A LARP means live action role play. So this was the same guy on August 1st. Okay, now it's August 4th. This stuff happened yesterday and last night, I guess, with QAnon New Zealand. Imminent false flag attack. Stay alert, not a LARP. Let's see. 2 days ago. So I don't know if he's talking about it happening in New Zealand. I don't know what he's talking about, but somewhere else, again, I'm just, like I said, I'm not doing any heavy lifting today. And I'm not going to play all these videos or anything. Some I've watched, some I haven't, I guess. I just pulled them up. I think what he was trying to say is that Q said there was going to be these kind of attacks or something, which, well, when the Garlic Festival shooting happened at the end of the week, I commented sort of, like I said, at the time I said, I'm not trying to claim any kind of prophetic insight or anything. It's just you get used to this pattern. I said, well, I said to myself, I really wish I would have said it in video. I would have looked like some kind of genius, right? I really wanted to say that Thursday or Friday that, be on the lookout, Bolo, be on the lookout for some kind of mass shooting or something happen now, change the news cycle. And like clockwork, boom, it fell on the downbeat, as I said. It was just like, that's a tell right there. It's a tell. It's like, why? Why did it happen then? Antifa in El Paso, Texas, false flags, yes or no? I'm sorry if my videos offend you. Please forgive me. This is the same gal. Battle for your soul. Jesus loves you. Let's see here. You would be amazed when you read the comments of how many people, like I've said in another video, the Goyim know. People are waking up to the fact that a lot of these things are not true. Terrorists are all crisis actors terrorizing anyone who believes these events are real. Seems like they followed through on the threat. Hell of a coincidence. Let's see here. This is kind of funny. Like I said, bit of advice, shoot your videos when your babies are down for a nap. That's why I didn't play her videos. She's got screaming children in the background. Anyway, there's not enough here to really get into other than I'm just scanning some of the comments because it's interesting how people, a lot of people just don't buy it. They're very cynical about these things. And that's why, as I said, there may be less and less of these shootings, I would say, where the people are not really killed, that they actually are people really killed, and they are activated shooters. They are mind control agents. I want you to think about something. This I do want to get to. That this guy, I have this article here, American Heritage, Trusted Writing on History, Travel, Food, and Culture since 1949. This article is titled The Secret of Soldiers Who Didn't Shoot. So there was a guy who enlisted in World War II, I believe it was, or World War I, at the age of 17. Colonel Samuel Lyman Marshall came home in 1945. It was World War II. He was one of the millions of Americans who had served in the Second World War. Perhaps a third of them had seen combat, and Marshall, as the European theater's deputy historian, remember that, had talked to an unprecedentedly large number of them. In a few months, he began the little book that was to make him S.L.A. Marshall, a respected and highly influential military historian. In the 211 pages of Men Against Fire, that's the name of the book, Marshall made an astonishing assertion. In any given body of American infantry in combat, no more than 1/5, and generally as few as 15%, had ever fired their weapons at an enemy, indeed ever fired their weapons at all. And he calls it, his writing on the refusal to fire, Marshall called it the ratio of fire, was his keystone achievement, what he's famous for, basically. Now, there are people who challenge his assertions that it was not really, that it was anecdotal. Well, he talked to a lot of people, and he served himself. Marshall replaced anecdotal evidence with hard numbers. So you can take it or leave it. I've mentioned this before in other videos, that just like when people throw punches, it's not the same in real life as it is on television. People get in these fist fights on television, and you hear the crack. You can kill somebody punching them in the head, or even in the guts. It's not the same as television. And by the same, along the same lines, do you know how hard it is to shoot 20 people and kill them dead and injure all other kinds? Well, you might think, well, it's easy. You just point and pull the trigger. If you're a maniac, Well, somebody who's never done that before, a young guy, 21 years old, maybe he's had lots of video game training, right? There's that. Again, there's things can split both ways, you know. I agree with you. But it's, why I bring this up is that even when you go and you join the Marines, they train you to be a killer, to follow orders and to kill, meaning you don't hesitate. They train you to dehumanize the enemy, to emotionlessly be able to stab them with a bayonet, slit their throat, as well as fire on them. Okay? So the military, whether he was right or wrong, the military, the United States military, took his report seriously enough, apparently, that they changed the targets that they used to train the troops on from a silhouette of a man into a circle. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how true that is, but that's, and doing a little just preliminary, just, you know, again, a cursory look. This guy, the number I think is really along the lines of 30%, but let's just say it's even 15. Well, let's say it's 30%. Only 30%, given the opportunity with an enemy out in the open, would fire on them, because most people, even having been trained to be a killer, being in a war, they have a hard time killing their fellow man. Well, thank the Lord for that. So that's something to crank in there. Where are these people coming from that have this incredible ability? And not only that, don't you think the Army would want somebody like that? Wow, they could really use a guy like this. What incredible composure. You got to remember, after that first shot, people are running and screaming, right? Moving targets. You might shoot somebody, but to get a kill shot isn't as easy as it sounds. Well, yeah, he did injure a bunch of people. So maybe a lot of people were dozens injured, 20 dead. There was one report I want to talk about here. Maybe this is it. It talked to somebody who walked in and their mother was on the floor. I got to find this because this is interesting. This is interesting. This is something, again, it's a data point that you need to be aware of. Let's go up here. Fox News correspondent Garrett Tenney struggles with emotion as he retells a quote-unquote horrific moment. Survivor said he found his mother dead after a shooter opens fire at an El Paso Walmart. Now, let's think about this. Remember, this is the theater of the absurd. Who finds your mother dead and then goes and does interviews? Not only that, brains all over the floor. Whether it was hers or not, I don't know. Tenney continued, he ran into the front door and he said he saw his mom on the ground. They saw many bodies. Now, it says the reporter is struggling to contain himself. I'd really like to see Tenney learn that one man's mother had been fatally shot moments after they'd arrived at the store. Well, this guy, this very sensitive reporter, he's portraying himself as he was getting choked up, but he had the nerve to track down this guy. Remember, we're just thinking it through. You got to think about this. He heard a guy's found his mother shot. Well, he went and interviewed him. How tacky is that? Sir, can you tell me what it felt like to see your mother dead on the floor? Her body's not even cold yet. But then he struggles with his emotions, like he's just moved. Again, I'm being a little cynical. I'll give you that. Being a little cynical about Garrett Tenney. Maybe a really nice guy. He's just doing his job. The correspondent continues speaking on other witness testimony he had heard. Nearly 24 people were reportedly killed, and at least 11 others were wounded during Saturday's shooting. Okay, so listen to this. He had been looking for witnesses to share their stories when he stumbled upon a man crying on the shoulder of an older man. Tenney learned that the man's mother had been fatally shot just moments after they had arrived at the store. He said she had just went into Walmart as soon as he heard the shooting happened. Hang on a minute. Tenney continued, he ran into the front door and he said he saw his mom on the ground. They saw many bodies. He said there was blood, there were brains everywhere. It's the most horrific thing he'd ever seen. Heartbreaking stories. Correspondent was able to maintain his composure and continued explaining that most people were shopping for the weekend at the Walmart when the shooting occurred. So this guy goes and interviews a guy who just seen brains and blood all over the floor, and presumably his mom was part of that, at least the blood part. We don't know if that was... I did hear one saying that a woman's head was kind of blown off. And again, maybe people really died. I don't know. But you don't know either. There was one video where they showed a body in the parking lot, but it was so blurred out, you don't know if that was a body. It could have been duffel bags. We don't know. Uncle Benny, that's just crazy. I'm sick of this. You know, I've been watching you for an hour and a half now, and you're just talking nonsense. Am I? Yeah. Homie, don't play that. I don't talk nonsense. I don't think so. I've done my homework. Have you? How many years have you been looking at these things with a critical mind? How many times have you come across the evidence that just gives it away, that there's something so wrong with this picture that it's just no way that happened? How many times? How many of these shootings? 0? Not me, son. I've been around. Okay? And I'm not doing a college course to bring you up to speed. I'm just pointing you in the direction that you're being lied to left and right. There's an agenda here. Be on the lookout. Next mass shootings that happen, how successive they are, how close together. I'm just speculating. Yeah, I'm speculating. I think we may start seeing them happen more frequently, meaning not one this month and one next month, like back to back. It's just a hunch. It's called a hunch. Educated guess. Okay, the suspect was in custody and there's no longer danger to the public. Reports on social media indicate manifesto was written by the alleged shooter has been making rounds on various websites. Well, do we know that he wrote it? We don't. You don't know that. That's what they're telling you, but you have to ask the question, how do we know he wrote it? Did you ask that question yet? I'm here to help you ask those questions. How do we know he wrote it? Well, you can't verify everything. I mean, you can't doubt everything. You better start doubting something because you're being lied to about almost everything, almost all the time. You hang out, watch some of these videos, and that gets backed up time and again. Okay, we're in shock over the tragic events at Cielo Vista Mall in El Paso, where store 2201 and Club 6502 are located. Praying for the victims and their first responders. Okay. By the way, the Hooters that's there, it was featured, the owl. There's significance in owl. The owl represents Moloch. Now, does Hooters, are they Luciferians and worshiping Moloch, and that's why there's an owl? Or is it just because they can get away with making boobs out of the eyes? Hooters, it means basically boobs. It's another word. It's a euphemism for boobs. And then, of course, you see like the eyes look like boobs with nipples. But the owl, again, one of the things I've said, and a lot of these, they're very subtle, just little data points, may mean nothing. So you got all these guys over here standing around, watching. You got these people, troops, basically. Now, what's going on here? Are these police? Or are they U.S. military? What's going on here? We're being conditioned to see violations of I'm having a brain cloud here. I can't think of it. It's a Latin term for basically you can't have the U.S. military acting like police on our soil. But they do. Is it National Guard? I don't know. Let's see. Law enforcement officers. Okay, so maybe it is just the police, but they're dressed like military. Aren't you getting sick of that? Why is that? Why is that happening? Why are they walking around like they're an invading army? Activated shooter or not? Very interesting. I haven't watched this. Is she really crying? Did she lose someone? People just standing around? I don't know. I'm not going to watch it. But let's read some of these comments. What are people saying? Some Fox News reporter got choked up. Yep, this is definitely the most important news of the day. 2 mass sprees in the past 24 hours, and they were all done by white males. Now, there's a theme. There's a theme and people are repeating it. How ironic. Fox News trumpets his hate-filled speeches for all to hear. It never questions him at all. Just keeps sending loud and clear. The trouble is some simple people actually believe his lies and act on them. Look what is happening now to some of the people. I don't exactly know what they're talking about unless they're talking about the guy's manifesto. What color was the DC sniper and his accomplice? They're talking about Malvo. You remember that guy who was shooting on the back as a young guy and an older guy sniping people? Why are people talking about color? People trying yet again to politicize tragedies, I presume. You betcha they are. It's another thing. It's another thing about this. Very much promoting white supremacist. Look at his manifesto, his documents, the things he tweeted, whether it was the Garlic Festival guy or this guy. I don't know anything about the Ohio one yet. I mean, come on. 3, I ain't got time for that. You know, I'll just deal with this one. Perhaps he was thinking of his own mother, but why is this a news story in and of itself? We need to do something about the pale MAGA Trump supporters. They're leaders of sprees. Again, people are believing this. Trumpism is destroying our country. So they're relating, and they do it in very subtle ways and very blatant ways. Again, this is a reflection of the themes that people believe and repeat and their feelings, and it's important. I like to read comments. You kind of get a feel. This person points out a white man. They're very quick to point out that these people carrying AR-15s and doing these shoot-em-ups are white males. I notice Dems, it means Democrats, are demanding Republicans tone down the rhetoric while they ramp theirs up. No deal. Dems will have to admit their own rhetoric must be toned down too. So, automatically they already know it's related to agendas and politics. Hey, has Trump said anything? Oh, I forgot he's golfing, cheating at golf. Okay, so again, this is the Daily Mail. I wanted to be on best rated. I didn't mean to be on newest because I hadn't. Here we go. So this person from rural United States, no one needs an AK-47 or AR-15 unless they have joined the U.S. Army. Get rid of civilian ownership of assault weapons. If you want to shoot assault rifle, join the Army. 1,191 people upclick this, as in positive, like agree. What do you think about that? We don't know who this person is. Could be a shill. Again, pushing a narrative, pushing an idea. Or maybe they really feel that way. Maybe that's a real person. Haha, the cops in the U.S. shoot black people down for less than that. And that is important. As I said, and I don't know where the video is, the arrest of this guy was so milquetoast. There was no takedown. I don't know if the guy if he skinned his knee. His pants sure didn't look dirty. They just had him in cuffs and casually walked. One guy, just one officer, just walked him. Well, it doesn't need 10 guys to... What about protecting him? Remember Lee Harvey Oswald? Jack Ruby came up and shot him in the guts. You don't think there was anyone who saw their mother on the floor who might have wanted to off this guy in a rage? Making sense? Now it becomes a little, when you put it in that perspective. Again, if you saw the video, and when you think about it like that, that doesn't seem to really be the right protocol. Haven't you seen hated criminals being brought in and out of court wearing bulletproof vests, surrounded by six officers in bulletproof vests, and getting in an armored vehicle, going back and forth to wherever they're being housed during their trial? Because the angry public might lynch him one way or the other, whether it's through a gunshot or just tear him limb from limb. Have at him. Yet they're just walking him across the street like he was arrested for jaywalking. You starting to smell what I'm cooking? That's an interesting data point. Remember, we're trying to get a picture here. We're only just sitting in our armchair with our phone, with the internet, or with the nightly news or whatever, and have what they're telling us. But if we think about it, there's some interesting things to consider. Again, do I know what happened? Nope. Do I know what didn't happen? Nope. I'm just looking at it. We're just looking at it. Police force needs disbanded. New system policing brought in. How does a citizen have access to an AK-47 gun if you're not going to war? Like, what the F? This is somebody from New York. And again, asking the question as an outrage like this should not be. Well, do you know why we have the Second Amendment, which I have pulled up right here, by the way? It's not for hunting, and it's not for defending your home. It's to defend against tyranny. When you have a nation of sheep, you'll have a government of tyrants. And I posit that we have become, and I'm not speaking for me, by the grace of God, I may be a lamb, one of his lambs, but I'm not a sheeple. Are you? Wakey, wakey, brothers and sisters. Do the work. Take heed that no man deceive you. So the Second Amendment does not give you the right to bear arms. It protects your right to bear arms. It keeps the government from infringing upon your right. It doesn't grant you the right. You have the right. The Supreme Court ruled that. Let's see, it's somewhere in here, I think. It should be. Okay, right here. The Second Amendment means no more than that it should not be infringed by Congress and has no other effect than to restrict the powers of the national government. The right to bear arms is not granted by the Constitution. Did you know that? Most people think that we have a constitutional right to bear arms. No, you have a God-given right to defend yourself, to live free or die, right? You have a God-given right. The right to bear arms is not granted by the Constitution, neither is it in any manner dependent upon that instrument for its existence. Now, what does that mean? If your right to bear arms is not dependent on the Constitution, well, then what is that right? It's a God-given right. The Second Amendment means no more than it shall not be infringed by Congress, and that right shall not be infringed by Congress, and has no other effect than to restrict the powers of the national government. So, does that mean that we can own a tank or a howitzer in our backyard? I mean, let's be reasonable. But you've heard it said that a well-armed society is a polite society. Remember, the Pope said these defenseless people, well, they had the right to bear arms. Not a single person at Walmart could have cracked off a shot at this guy. He was standing there in plain view wearing khakis and a T-shirt. Pretty hard to miss him. He's got the noise-canceling headphones or whatever he's got on his headgear. Aren't there plenty of hiding places? Run down an aisle, hide behind some kind of stand. What about the battery stands that are in Walmart? You've seen them? Can you take a position there and pick this guy off when you get an opportunity? Yet no one has video, really. I've seen one video, maybe of the parking lot and a blurred out alleged body. And again, maybe it is. And then the guy under the thing. I haven't seen the other video. Now, there may be video. Like I said, this may happen exactly like they said. Maybe. I think there's probably something a little nefarious going on here, besides just the virtue of the fact that, mass murder is nefarious. I think there's already enough tells to say, okay, this one's suspect. But one thing that you need to remember, frame the news with the fact that you rarely see cell phone footage. Yet everybody's got a camera these days and presumably knows how to use it, even if it's horrible. Heck, we've got better pictures of Bigfoot and better videos of blurry old Bigfoot than we do of these shooting incidents. You would think that the people who hunker down, or what do they call it, shelter in place while this is going on, they don't know where to run, they hide, they crouch down, whatever, that they might be thinking about, I got to get evidence. Somebody, at least one person somewhere, might be wanting to collect some evidence or identify this guy before they get, before doom hits them with the lead. All right, moving on here. Let's close this. This one's about donations. Project Northwoods. Did I watch this? Well, they got Alex Jones. I don't know what he said about it. So they basically just copied a video and uploaded it here. Okay, I'll just leave this up. I might want to watch that later. El Paso shooting probably carried out by deep state radical left to blame whites and President Trump. Now I watched this guy, and and he's articulate. It's very interesting, but he still buys into the left-right paradigm, and believes this is done by the radical left. Look, there's no left or right. That's a false premise. If you don't know that, you do now. Now it's up to you to go search it out. Just like the Bereans searched the scriptures to see if what Paul, this learned apostle Paul, see if the things he said were true. They searched the scriptures. Well, I'm making that assertion that the left-right is a false paradigm. It's a Hegelian dialectic. The pendulum swings one way, then the pendulum swings the other way. It's like sailing a ship against the wind, and the agenda is furthered. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, this guy pretty much is he's questioning about the veracity of the shooting, and then of course gets into how it will be used. And again, these videos, and maybe they're off, maybe the channel's taken down and the video's been flagged because this guy wasn't very circumspect about his title here. So I don't know how long old Jerry Eldred, that's the YouTuber's name, I don't know how long his video is going to last. Suspect in okay, we already saw this. This is the pop. It's let's see here. Maybe we can get a picture of the guy being arrested. I really want to show that. I think you're going to be astounded. So we have one video, of inside the Walmart. We have also, you don't think that Walmart has more pictures and video than this? Well, I can't release it because it's too graphic. It's reached the point where we need to see bodies. Uncle Benny, that's pretty morbid. Gee, come on, have some respect. How about you have some respect for the truth? How about you have some respect for yourself and demand proof instead of just believing this stuff? What about all those children at Sandy Hook? Oh, don't go there. Don't go there. Really? Have you studied it? How about you study this? Okay? Nobody died at Sandy Hook. I think I have this favorited somewhere. It's a PDF written by Professor James Fetzer. Let's see here. Where can you find it? Read the free PDF. Jim Fetzer. Now, has any of this changed? Here, we'll just go to this one, reformation.org. I'm not, again, like I said, I may go to a website or something and I'm not necessarily endorsing what they believe. Okay, looks like that's been taken down. But if you've never heard of this, maybe you ought to read it. At least get you thinking. This book was banned by Amazon. What's that tell you? The editor, a distinguished professor, doctor of philosophy and a former Marine Corps officer, has engaged a number of citizens whose intelligence and integrity is beyond challenge. Now, James Fetzer, I think he got his notoriety to start with because he pulled together experts to examine the Kennedy assassination. And he kind of has an impeccable reputation for, if you listen to him speak in interviews, he almost seems like a savant of some kind. He just can rattle off facts and numbers and everything, and like a freight train just rolling down the track. And it's, it's like, wow, he's got a very strong intellect. Okay. I don't know where the book is. I've got it somewhere myself. Maybe you can't hardly find it anymore. Be careful. Oh, here we go. Maybe this is it. 422 pages. I'd like to get you a link that you can trust. It's taken too long. Yep, not authorized to view this page. So anyway, it's out there. Hope you find it. Again, Walmart has videos and pictures. Immediately the bodies aren't even cold, and we get a manifesto on 8chan. Somebody's already identified that. After the shooting, immediately, I mean, the guy I don't think had even been booked at the station yet, and his social media things have been identified and some things deleted. This is after the shooting. And the guy, in his manifesto, basically he calls, by the way, it's interesting, he uses language that you hear me use all the time. I always say to replace that word with invaders. He calls them invaders. Well, then why didn't he go on the border and shoot invaders? No, he went and shot up men, women, and children in a Walmart shopping that was, near the border, somewhat near the border. Really? That's absurd. Think about it. Just think about it. The guy who writes out, I believe it might even be somewhat articulate, writes out a manifesto, but then how he carries it out, it doesn't really fit logically. This person says, amazing how he gets taken alive after killing more than 20 people. Yeah, I'd say. Very interesting. He didn't want to shoot up the cops? Why not? He just killed 20 people and tried to kill a bunch more, but then he stops firing. He run out of ammunition. I mean, I don't know. Those are legitimate questions, but it's very curious that you get heavily armed law enforcement descending upon this place like a swarm, and not one of them gets off a shot at this guy. Not even out of just pure adrenaline. Kind of odd. It just seems weird. They should house this blank with house this guy with the Mexican gangs. Let's see how much of a man he is with no guns to protect him. Well, once again, this person assumes, people automatically assume, what was I talking about the other day? Tried in the media. He's already guilty. Well, we don't know. For real. How many other people were there? There are reports of up to 4 other people. Where are they? What happened to them? How did no one, 14 hours ago, this lady writes, how did no one in that Walmart not have a gun to take this madman down? It's Texas. Almost everyone carries a gun. And you know what else? You know who else carries guns? Walmart. And there's usually a guy there behind the counter. And it's usually in the back of the store. So you hear people screaming, people firing off shots, and that guy has an arsenal of ammunition. And I mean, you don't have to get the key out to open up the ammunition. At that point, you break the glass. You take the butt of that shotgun and you break the glass. Why didn't that happen? But guess who doesn't ask that question? The media. They don't ask that question. Doesn't Walmart sell guns? Didn't they have a gun powerful enough to stop this guy? So, anyway, I'm getting tired. It's kind of boring. I hope it's a little bit entertaining for you. I try to make it maybe a little exciting, even if it means being a little edgy, a little confrontational. Am I goosing you up? Am I getting you excited? I'm getting you mad at me? Good. I want you to get mad. Howard Beale said, I'm not going to leave you alone. And Uncle Benny says, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street and the mass shooters. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being, God damn it. My life has value. So I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell and I'm not going to take this anymore. That's Howard Beale making his witness on the movie network. I want you to watch that movie. You'll be glad you did. If you've never seen it, watch that movie. You can find clips of this on YouTube. Enjoy it. I think it'll be very stirring for you. Maybe life-changing. I want you to get mad. Don't want you to get mad at guns. Don't want you to get mad at, these young, angry white men just going on these killing sprees. It's just got to stop. I'm mad as hell. I'm not going to take it anymore. You know what you need to get mad about is what I'm trying to say is the lies, the media, the spin, the propaganda, how this is being used to basically, what's the end game here? Whether this is an organic, crazy, murderous madman or not, the end game is to destroy your right to bear arms. Make it like Australia. Make it, you have to register your weapons, and if you have them, you can only have certain kinds and certain calibers and certain amounts of ammunition, certain size clips or magazines, and you can, really, it's only for hunting and home defense. That's the agenda. You know it, and I know it. Anybody else smell the false flag nature of El Paso shooting? 7,100 people watch this. Yeah, out of the millions of people on YouTube, that's still a lot of people. Thousands of people have looked up. I don't know how many he has. Well, he has 38. He has half as many subscribers. But that means that it was shared, or people went looking to see what people were saying about finding the evidence that it's false flag. Because, like I said, very often you can't do it as much anymore. And I probably shouldn't be closing these tabs because they may not be able to find them again. They scrub them. This guy put false flag in El Paso in the same title. You think that'll be there tomorrow? Right here, even here, 13 hours ago. Anyone who's questioning it on YouTube are getting their videos taken down. I'm surprised this video is still up. Let's see here. Why are they taking them down? They're citing them for hate speech. Yep, that's true. It's true. It's amazing how hard I had to search YouTube to find an authentic, non-mainstream media opinion on this event. It's terrifying. It is. A year ago, you could. But then they made a stink about it because they can't have this questioning. It was starting to get out of control. Lots of people know how to make videos, and lots of people still critically think, by the way. And they aren't buying it. And lots of people have the ability to replay or download news clips and analyze them. And they find things that are quite troubling, that basically say, the jig is up, the goyim no. These types of shooting always seem to happen more frequently right before every election. I just saw a video of a girl who said there was 3 shooters, while the media is saying 1 shooter. Okay, they've concluded already it's a false flag operation. I'm not so fast to conclude it. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. You've heard me say, and you can have it for free. You can use it yourself. I never hear anybody else say this. I'm a conspiracy scientist. Not to be confused with the scientismists of science falsely so called. Those who profess themselves to be wise but show themselves to be fools. I'm talking about, you look at the data points, you create a mosaic, you start to get a picture, and it either lines up with reality and the narrative of what you're being told, or it doesn't. And very often it doesn't. When I hear there's a shooting, I always leave a little room. Like, for example, when I say when that book says nobody died at Sandy Hook, I don't know that no one died, but I don't believe 26 little children were all executed by Adam Lanza. How do you do that? Not just I'm talking the practical side of shooting human beings that are screaming in a panic, running around, even in a huddle, and get off kill shots, execution style. It's really very difficult to do, from what I understand. By the way, just so you know, and I did want to get into the guy's manifesto because it was interesting, some of the things he said, and it's like, wow, it sounds like they've been watching some of my videos using the word invaders and all these kinds of things. So I just want to, for the record, I'm never going on a shooting spree. I hope to get through this life and never kill another human being, even if I'm justified. I really don't want to be a part of that. So if you find out that I'm laying in a pool of blood somewhere and there's magazines all around me and some kind of, ominous looking rifle, and they're using clips from these videos or maybe something else, pulling stuff from social media or something like that, and say, he was XYZ kind of a character, and, he hated the invaders and all this kind of, whatever they want to spin it. It's a lie, because I would never do something like that, for the record. I don't want to kill anyone. He that winneth souls is wise. Why would I care about winning souls and pointing people to the gospel if I want to destroy them? It's not the devil comes to kill, steal, and destroy. Steal, kill, and destroy. Destroy, kill, and steal. Frontwards and backwards. Destruction. Robbing. The Lord came that he would give life, to redeem the whole world. He's not willing that any should perish. And if he's not willing that any should perish, who am I, unless there's a very special situation to take someone's life? Would not do it. Okay, let's see here. Here we go. Somebody observed 13 hours ago. No civilians posted videos of the shooting. It's only the alphabet stations forming a narrative. You know, the goyim know. People know. People know. This will be spun by the MSM. MSM, again, is the mind control media, as I like to call it, the mainstream media. Justin Smollett hoax failed. Garlic Fest wasn't as big as they wanted. Q warned us. Now, I don't know. I haven't looked into this. Occasionally, this Q character has said things that come true to the day. It's pretty astonishing. So I don't know who it is or what it's all about, but I don't follow it really. They're already trying to make it a race thing. That's right. They always have a manifesto, and the cops always magically find it. Yep. Right away. So quickly. It's just like when 9/11 happened, before the end of the month, they had a massive Homeland Security document. The, what was it called? No, not NDAA. What was it called? I can't remember now. But they wheeled that out, giving them massive, expansive powers of surveillance. You don't think they typed that up ahead of time? Well, they sure did. And you better believe it. By the way, just to further aggravate somebody, 9/11 was an inside job. If you're that far behind, I'm surprised you made it this far in the video. You know, I don't mean that to be insulting. In fact, ignorance is bliss. You've heard me say that before. And if somebody, you know, you're getting somewhere at a point in your life where you just don't really want to pay attention to this, that's fine. That's fine. But then again, the Lord said, take heed that no man deceive you. Let's see. Strange how no one ever shoots up the politicians who are responsible for the illegal alien invasion. You know, that's a fair point, right? If this guy wrote out this thing and it was about the invaders, why wouldn't he go for the people who are causing the problem, not the victims, not many of the people that are coming up here and lawlessly invading and usurping, and you know, again, they're not all just criminals and rapists. They're criminals, yes, not respecting the laws of the land, invading the border. They're stealing, basically, by usurping. However, many of them don't have that awareness of they're doing something wrong. They're just trying to better their lives. It's true. They saw an opportunity, and they better get in before the window closes, because there may be amnesty, they hear, you know, and they may get in here, and then they'll be naturalized. So let's see here. Okay. Pretty soon it's going to be considered anti-Semitic to question the Zionist-run corporate media version of events. Well, it is. You know, I already mentioned, I said the goyim know. What's that mean by default? And I mentioned who owns the media, Hollywood, the pornography industry. Why are they destroying? How many Zionists are dual citizens in our government in some very, very interesting places, and why? It's very curious. Remember, this nation had freedom of religion and the expression of Protestant Christianity, and the old world order, they call it the new world order. It's mind control. It's really the old world order. Did you know that? You can have that for free. They want the old world order in place. And ever since this nation began as a quote-unquote experiment, Benjamin Franklin said, you have a republic if you can keep it. Allegedly he said that. Was it a joke when he said that? Was he joking? Kind of like the game is on. Because remember, the Freemasons, and not in this video, but in other videos I've posted links. You can do some research into the one of the arms of the Cabal, is Freemasonry, Luciferians at the top. Now, you might be a Mason. Let's say you're a Mason. You're a third-degree Mason. We're not Luciferians. We have a Bible in our lodge. Yeah, well, the Freemasons in other countries, they have Korans in their lodges. And if you ever read Morals and Dogma, like you should, just like if you're a Christian, if we're Christians, we ought to be reading the Bible. Guilty. I'm guilty. You know, there's times it collects dust. I'm trying to fix that. But the fact is, if you don't know who Albert Pike is and what he said, you don't know what it's about. You need to think about it, and you need to come out of her, my people. That has more application than just Babylon, okay? Let's see here. What? Another mass shooting in Ohio within 24 hours. Something is definitely going on here. Bill Cooper warned us about these staged shootings in 1991. Behold a Pale Horse book. Now, that's another PDF you can get for free. It outlines a lot of things. Bill Cooper is a very interesting person. He was murdered by the local police. He had a radio broadcast, and he would talk about these same kind of things like I'm talking about in a way. Behold a Pale Horse. Let's see. You could find this. I think this actually is on Amazon, but I think you can get a PDF for nothing, for free. Yeah, sometimes I don't use the King's English. Okay, Milton William Cooper. Let me just tell you a little bit about him. He was killed in his late 50s here. He was an American conspiracy theorist. He basically, by the way, he called out 9/11 in advance. Best known for his 1991 Behold the Pale Horse, in which he warned of multiple global conspiracies, some involving extraterrestrial life. Now, that's you're going to have to chew up the meat and spit out the bones in a lot of these situations. Nobody, including myself, has a handle on all the truth. Maybe wrong about some things. Now, he was part of U.S. Naval Intelligence. He had witnessed certain things himself. But just because someone witnesses a massive UFO or incredible sights does not mean that they are little green men from Alpha Centauri or Zeta Reticuli. Okay, I've told you before, and I'll say it again. I had a lot invested, and even wanted to be an astronaut. I had a lot invested. I was raised on Star Trek, Space 1999, Battlestar Galactica, Star Wars, you name it. Okay, and I've always wondered about the alien situation, and I've pondered, but I prayed about it, and I've concluded the matter. It's interesting to see some YouTube videos on UFOs. Now, if you are somebody who's like, I don't believe in UFOs, that's where I get off the truck or get off the bus. Well, as I've said before, you probably have an IQ of 40. I mean that facetiously. You don't. The Lord gave you a sound mind, but you need to go and start looking at YouTube videos because UFOs are real. The question is, what are they? Now, I've concluded the matter. I believe it's fallen angels. It's a spiritual type of a phenomenon that's going on. It's part of end-time deception. It's not little green men from Zeta Reticuli. Let's see here. Cooper also described HIV/AIDS as a man-made disease used to target blacks, Hispanics, and homosexuals, and that a cure was made before it was implemented. He has been described as a militia theoretician. Well, at any rate, I want you to be aware of this book, and you can read it. Cooper produced and published Beyond a Pale Horse in 1991. This book has been influential among UFO and militia circles. Just prior to the trial, now I have the book. I haven't fully read it. I can't be bothered. I've got a lot on my plate. There's a lot of stuff I'd love to read, but I don't necessarily need to. When you have the Lord guiding you and leading you and showing you things, you don't have to read everything. You don't have to become an expert on everything. You just trust the Lord, what he shows you. Now, I don't mean to get all woo-woo on you. Believe me, I do my fair amount of fact-checking, and this is not something you come to in an overnight. It takes years sometimes of really studying this stuff with a curiosity, with an intellectual and a heart type of a yearning for truth. Okay? All right, so that's enough about that. I'm getting a little too deep into that. Let's see here. Let's just do something real quick and experiment. Let's refresh this and see if this is still up. I don't know. Maybe it is. If it is, it doesn't mean it won't be taken down.
Hey, everybody.
Okay, it is. So it stayed. Now there's 8,000 views, 8,500. Interesting. So let's see here. We're going to close that. Proof of fake news about El Paso shooter. Okay, yeah, I watched that. It wasn't that interesting. Again, I just pulled all these up, and I did a search for, the fake news. Let's see here. I believe he killed children fundraising at the door. I mean, I can't imagine getting that call. I'm really effing fed up of it. So angry. I'm sad. I'm scared. I'm so sorry to these poor people. Again, 627 people resonate with that. So what he's saying is that he shot children that were fundraising in the front of Walmart. Just like Salvation Army in the wintertime. They're fed up. They're angry. They're scared. Let's see here. Someone says they don't even want to leave their house, I think, and that's what I want to find, which I found very interesting because I've been saying that in the Howard Beale rant. So sad. People can't even go shopping without fear of being shot. Nothing gets done. Too unbelievable. People are sympathetic to that. Can't even go shopping. Apparently people aren't safe in Canada either. It's on topic. I'm sick of the paid astroturfing trolls from other countries bashing the U.S. seconds after a tragedy. All they are doing is inciting more hatred, which they're paid to do. There are paid trolls, if you don't know that, by the way. There are people that sit around in cubicles with computers that are paid to go and put opinions or argue with people, and they're paid trolls. Let's see. Okay, where was the good guy with the gun? You'd think Walmart in Texas would be full of them. Now, was this the same comment I read earlier? I don't know, but obviously the question's being asked. The good guy was shopping while his gun was in his car. Walmart's a gun-free zone. And being a law-abiding citizen, he's obeying the law. Get it now? Well, even if somebody had their gun in the car, don't you think a good man would run towards that Walmart gun section, bust out one of those guns, bust up the glass, get the right shells out, and arm himself and go to work? Right? It's very curious. Killed for going shopping. You know, that's the, again, be afraid. What do I say all the time with Drudge Report? Doom, gloom, fear, propaganda. Be afraid. Be afraid. They were killed for being Latinos. He wrote a manifesto of his hatred for Latinos, and he deliberately went to a location where they make up a large population. Well, he didn't have to go to El Paso. Heck, I don't live anywhere near Texas, and we have a large Latino population around here. Texas, as long as it's been around, has had a lot of Latinos there. Used to be Mexico, right? Anyway, maybe I'm flogging this to death here. Again, let's remember, actual soldiers have a hard time killing people. That the army, the military, I should say, not the army, Marines, whatever, they have to work very hard to take a red-blooded American and make them a killer. In fact, the ones that are actually calm, cool, and collected killers and don't have a problem doing that, they generally are probably selected when they do the psychological profiles, and they do them. They find someone who maybe has some psychopathic tendencies, and they may enter them into a sniper program and then deploy them on special operations around the world. But your average Joe, your average G.I. Joe, at least back then, now it's probably improved, they've probably done a lot more in their improving, but they want it to be 100%, not 30% who could actually fire their weapon. They want 100% of the people to be able to calm, cool, and collected, pull the trigger, and neutralize the enemy, meaning kill them. However they got to do it. Bayonet to the back, slitting their throat, face-to-face combat, looking them in the eyes and stabbing them with that bayonet, or shooting them point-blank range with their M4 rifle. Anyway, how true is that? How true is that statistic? I don't know, but it takes a special breed and special training generally to be able to think about it. Killing. The guy lived 21 years, and he went out and he shot, presumably, 20 people to death. How do you do that? Is he on drugs? Psychotropic drugs or some other kind of drug to keep him calm? Where to get him? I haven't heard him asking that question either. So the Ohio one was at Ned Pepper's bar. Anyway, all right. So that's enough. You get the idea. What can you say about it? What can you say about it? There's other things to say. I got other things to say, but that's enough. I'm kind of getting a little tired. Like I said, I'm not feeling great. And that's Uncle Benny's special Sludge report for Sunday, August 4th. Get mad as hell. Realize they're lying to you. Start. You got to suit up. Get in the Word of God before you read the news, because otherwise it's going to destroy you. That's what it's designed to do. Let's pull it up again. Let's pull up the headlines. See what they're saying before we sign off here. Red letters. Bloodbath. 20 killed. They never have a problem when it's a white shooter. That fact comes out immediately. All right, that's enough. You know, I'm kind of losing my focus. And, yep, there's no end to it. As if that's the way it's supposed to be. Well, the Lord's going to return. Keep looking up. Keep looking up. And if I said anything that was a little, you know, kind of pushy, please forgive me. You know, I'm talking to a screen, and I just hear those naysaying voices that that I know that people have. Believe me, how do I know? I've been around people who laugh or ridicule, or if you go anywhere outside of what would be considered, you know, like it's a dangerous thing to think. It's a danger, right there, I just said it's a dangerous thing to think. It's a dangerous thing to think that maybe this isn't real or isn't what it said, or this guy is a Manchurian candidate, or it's anything other than what they're saying. If you question this, you're slapped with the pejorative word conspiracy theorist. Well, don't be a theorist. You might have some, again, the premise being maybe they're lying to us, so I better go look. And then go see if they are. That's all. Gather the evidence. So anyway, don't let it get you down. Don't get any on you. As I titled the video, ain't no bugs on me. There may be bugs on some of you mugs, but there ain't no bugs on me. Don't let it get you down. There might be lobsters on some of you mobsters, but there ain't no bugs on me. Okay? All right. Make a great day. Go outside and play. And don't be afraid.